apologize for it being so late. We're still waiting on Joe and David. David said he'd be here at 5:45, which is almost right now. Haven't heard from Joe, but we've got a quorum so we can start the meeting. So we'll call it to order and we'll do a mini roll call. I'm Nancy Burrow.
You're wrong.
Chair Petracca.
And Joe and David will be here shortly. We can go ahead and approve the minutes.
After 17 revisions.
I make a motion to approve.
Yeah, good. And I sent out the latest revision probably 3:45, 4 o'clock.
Yeah.
So I will get those submitted to Christine via PDF.
When David and Joe get here, we're going to make some decisions about hiring our own legal counsel. So hopefully we'll be able to come to some conclusions on that. But let's just skip down. You don't have copies of it anyway, so you don't know that I'm skipping. We'll skip down to the meetings, upcoming meetings. So you've given me a few dates that you're not gonna be here this summer. David's given me a couple. Do you know of any?
Not yet.
Okay,
We're waiting on, for next Thursday. Where he's gonna go. He may not go anywhere.
Who?
My grandson.
Oh, okay.
He's an attorney at Lancaster.
We just started.
Exactly what you're talking about.
You're a good man. I'm not gonna let you leave without it.
I was like, he's on late.
So we're skipping around, waiting on Joe. So the meetings, on Tuesday, it's the update to the commissioners. So
The 16th.
So we'll talk about that. We'll come back to that one. The 18th is a regular meeting in this room, but no Jericho.
Correct.
And then the 24th is the symposium. 25th, you wanna tell us the location of that one?
The 25th, the meeting will be held at North Star Coffee. So we have confirmed with her that we are able to use that back room area. So it's nice and spacious. They have a pretty nice big table back there, and then there's even kind of an overflow area as well. She is not charging us anything, which is very generous of her. So in return, I just asked that, we purchase coffees, or she said she'll make chicken salad and some other stuff. I told her not to go overboard. I was like, don't go overboard. But she loves that kind of stuff. But I just, as we're using that space and she's not charging us, I guess that's what I would ask of the committee.
And we're doing that because this room isn't available that
Do a
night.
wedding, yep.
So when you say she,
She's the owner.
is it Linda Hamilton?
They own the building.
Yeah. No, but it's not Linda though.
No.
They own the building, but it's the person who runs.
It's not the,
Runs the
not the
Yes.
Hamiltons.
And to be honest, I'm gonna be really bad because I actually don't know her name, but I know her daughter's name is Lucy, I think. I feel like it is. So I feel really bad because I actually don't know her name.
That's okay.
But she's so sweet and she's just, and I go there pretty often, and so she knows us and our kids, and I'm like, I actually don't know her name, but.
Well, I checked with the lady that manages the rooms up here, and so then for August and September, there is not a problem with not having this room. It's more that we're working around people's vacations. So on August 15th,
North Star.
Jerica and David will not be here. So I don't know if it's
That was August
having a meeting
11th,
or not,
August 15th.
15th.
but we can decide closer to the time. And then August 22nd, David will not be here.
Correct.
So just let me know as you make plans so we know whether to cancel the room or not. What else can we talk about without Joe here? Did he say how soon he's gonna be here?
Let's see. We just, at 5:45, we said he just got to the exit, so.
Oh, with the traffic.
We could do committee member progress reports, what we've been up to. Anybody wanna start with that?
I guess what I would say is I've mostly been working so far on your 20 pages that you've sent over, which has been awesome and very helpful. So I've been taking that and working that into the timeline. It has taken me I only am on page 6 because it does take me a little bit to figure out what we wanna put on the timeline for, and some of the stuff I already had. So now that I'm kind of past that part, and I'm just working for the rest of your pages, is where I'm at on your stuff, added to the master timeline.
Yeah, I've just been reading your,
Yeah,
you provided,
right here.
yeah.
Yeah, right here.
Yeah, I did, but I don't see any laptops around, but I did bring these flash drives, so
Oh, I got you.
I'll
I
keep,
didn't understand exactly what, so I thought I'd wait
I'll
now.
keep bringing them.
I have my laptop tonight.
Did you get them the other night?
No,
You,
No.
okay, all right,
yeah,
but you do have it tonight.
I have my laptop tonight, before I leave,
All right.
copied it.
But it's, I got a flash drive with information on it from Rapka and one from Frank that has all the minutes back to, from 2018 to 2024. And then I have asked him for a bunch of other things. So, but I, CM updates, agendas with the supporting documentation. I mean, sometimes those meetings can have 30 pages to a meeting, but there's a lot of information in there. All the resolutions I want. I asked for some invoices between Peckwa and Bowling Green. Some correspondence between Eric Wood and Dalen and Nick, I think I asked for. I don't remember what all. I sort of flooded him, but, and I did them one at a time, so he got a whole bunch of them.
Yeah.
But that might be easier for him to keep track of.
Yeah.
But, so then I've been working on the what do you know stuff, and then the complaints from, that people have been calling in to Rapka and to 911, and putting them in chronological order, so we can sort of see how things started with the citizens noticing things and complaining about it, and then how that started ramping up with more frequency.
Nancy, my question I had for you, I haven't worked on the complaints document yet, I started with the what do you know document with the evidence, and I know some of them you had questions more than anything else, so then that I didn't add to the timeline, so I was, my process of what I've been doing is, I highlight in green the text that I put onto the
That's all
timeline,
that.
and that's the methodology I'm kind of using, and then for the complaints, I was thinking of using just a different sticky note color, so that way you could maybe see a little bit easier, like here's activities that have been going on, and then these are the complaints, and then this is, you know, just so that, to kind of color coordinate it, was my thought process, if we thought that would be valuable to have that there on the timeline.
And
Okay.
don't start on it, cause I found some errors, so I need to send it to you for a third time.
That's fine. I had to send 4 different versions of notes today, so.
Let's see, so that's pretty much what I've been working on.
So you sent document requests, have you heard anything back about?
I just sent them yesterday.
Okay. So you few more days.
Anything else on that? Like Jim, what have you been working on?
Reading, writing,
Arithmetic?
arithmetic. I downloaded that, I ran off the last couple of days, everything that you sent, so reading each page.
Is there any particular
Not yet,
aspect or subject that's drawn your interest the most?
not yet,
Okay.
but I have a lot of notes if you want to.
We all have a lot of notes.
Want some more paperwork?
Well, we could talk about writing the report.
Yes.
You can catch up with
Okay.
that. So your idea is to have an outline.
Yeah,
I like
my thinking was we could have a shared document, either in Google Docs or something like that. And
No, you're okay.
Joe?
We're just starting to talk about writing the report.
so those were kind of my thoughts. We would have a shared document that all of us could access. And we would start by creating an outline, which kind of will give us a skeleton or a guide, which we can flesh out with all of our notes and things like that. But I think a good place to start would be the outline. And then once we feel good about that, and I think that would kind of give us a path forward for the report. I think maybe there's probably some things we could write for the report, like early, like introductory stuff, but I still think we're a ways away from writing the bulk of the report.
Well, at least
Until
we can get the outline together, and that'll,
right,
To get you started.
that'll get us a guide.
so do we want that maybe for the next meeting to be a major topic that we talk about? And then I think we need-
Problem, put that together.
we need to figure out who's gonna, I think somebody needs to take responsibility for that test.
Right.
We all help, I mean, even with
Yeah,
the
we're fine.
outline, somebody needs to keep the momentum
Keep the
going.
momentum going.
And who would that be? You are gonna take that?
That wouldn't be the first time I wrote a report.
I think all of
Just the outline.
Just the outline. and stuff like
Yeah, we're
that.
just talking about the outline.
Yeah, read that, yeah.
And we could use an easel here, the next meeting.
Yeah.
And start filling it in.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, big sheets.
Have you guys is everyone familiar with Google Docs?
No.
The what?
Are you familiar with a Google document? So like, basically it's a document, it's almost like Microsoft Word, but it's on Google and all 5 of us could write and edit at the same time.
Oh.
And
And then you see dynamic updates, so it's
Oh, really?
not, if you send the link versus sending it as an attachment, if you send it as like a Google Drive link, then we'll all be able to be in it and then see dynamic updates and comments, and it's pretty fluid. So it's a nice way to collaborate.
literally I could be at home and you could be on, and I could see what you're typing in real time. So it's,
I have to think about this.
Okay.
But
That's fine.
you said it was similar to Word though.
yeah, the layout is, it's laid out just like
The only difference would be you wouldn't see one versus the other. Because on Word, I'm sitting there typing, you're not gonna be able
Yeah.
to read that.
Microsoft Word, we would all have
Yeah,
5
yeah,
separate
yeah.
documents.
And are you talking about the outline or the report?
Right now, I'm just talking about the outline.
Okay, all right. Yeah, we can try that with the outline.
Yeah, simple and easy.
Baby steps.
Yeah.
But I think, we could, tonight, we could share a link to a document and we could all have access to it.
Question, real quick about the link. Did you guys get the link that I sent in?
I saw your link, but I hadn't had a chance to open it yet.
I'm like, did you get my vacation
But I
update?
saw her email, so I will check it.
Yeah, if someone
It looked like a good trip.
I don't know, I don't know what.
I didn't get that,
Because
I
then
didn't
when
get
I
the
hit
itinerary.
So when I hit what do you hit? When you open that link, what do you get? Do you get the document with green text on it?
Actually, I read her, like, this looks like a vacation package,
I mean, let me know if you guys wanna partake of it.
It's okay,
So, but the idea is I don't know what link, cause when I hit that link, it opens up the Word document. So I'm not sure how it's not working properly if it's not that Word document and if it's my vacation itinerary.
Okay.
I will check that.
Thank you. But ideally, that's how it would work, is you would send a link out like that, and then we would all be able to access it.
Oh, shoot.
Well, can one of you, Jim or David, set that up so we can play with it?
Yeah, we could just send a document in tonight.
That's it, yeah, so I don't know why,
I don't know, I got it, that's what I got.
yeah, that's what it should look like.
I didn't blow it up,
Yeah.
turn it off yet.
Second try, it worked.
So this is not your vacation itinerary?
No, unfortunately, it is not.
It sounds like Jim wanted to help out.
No, she just asked for money.
Any funds.
Okay, so can we talk about the big one, the legal counsel? Do we need any more discussion before proceeding on that? We're talking about one candidate or searching for another is basically our choice at this point.
I think if you're gonna get one, just get it over with.
I'm for that,
Yeah, you guys saw my analysis last night,
and that
so
was good.
appreciate that. I haven't heard what everyone else's thoughts are.
I think we get it done,
Yeah,
get moving on.
I sort of explained to Tim where we were at and what the concerns were. He acknowledged it and said we're probably not a good fit right now, so he backed out.
Okay.
So do we want to vote on whether we want Dan Brown as our legal counsel?
So Nancy, this was a candidate you already spoke to, an attorney?
David did.
Okay. And
Do you want to do a little synopsis of him before we vote?
I mean, basically, I reached out to an attorney I know in Dayton. I've worked with him for a long time and I trust his opinion. He recommended an attorney named Chris Walker. Chris Walker is retiring at the beginning of August, so he's not taking on any new clients or any new work. So I went back to the attorney I know and I said, hey, he's retiring. And I also talked to Chris about this, and both of them then recommended Dan Brown, who was the attorney that I presented to the group
From Dayton?
from Dayton, yeah. He's a sole practitioner, but his area of expertise is environmental law, and he has experience working with public entities through his work on the environmental issues. So I trust the recommendations that I got, so.
And Mr. Brown is not able to take us on at this time?
No, he drafted up an engagement letter, and if the group is on board with it, we'll present that engagement letter at the city commission meeting next Tuesday.
Is this something the panel wants him at every meeting? Look forward, or just?
It would just be on a like as needed basis.
We don't know how generous the commission's going to be about paying for this.
Yeah. Can you say that to me?
It's been 145 million.
The stuff I just showed you.
So do we motion or how do we
I don't
do
know what
this?
happened. I
Just
deleted it.
really quickly, I did some searching on him, looked him up as best you can, LinkedIn, social media, things like that, so. Nothing set off alarm bells that this guy's disqualified, I see nothing negative about him, seems to be in good standing, and you know, from what I can tell, people have been happy with his representation, so. There's no red flags that I see. Just FYI.
I would say, yeah, if there's any reservations anyone has,
Now's the time.
now's the time to speak up, because, you know, if you wanna get another candidate or
no, I just,
I
I
don't
if you wanna
I
just,
think we just gotta keep moving and not waste time.
I agree. Yeah.
don't have any
So I motion that we vote. Is that how it works?
No, make a motion to hire him.
Hire Dan.
Make a motion to hire Dan Brown as our legal counsel.
I would second the motion.
So then
Should
we
we do a
vote.
roll call?
Yeah.
Jim?
Hold on.
Aye.
That was a, well, yeah, that was a yes, I mean, aye.
Yay,
Okay.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay,
Okay, good.
so we're
So
on
then
board.
the next step is for you to talk to him
Yeah,
about how, well,
I'll probably pull
we
you
have
in.
to do the update to the commissioners. That's the next step,
Correct.
Yeah, then I approve it.
and that's Tuesday. So how are we
Tuesday.
going to present that to them?
Well, real quick, his engagement letter, he signed it, you know, sent it to Paul Ovendorfer, and I assume Paul has, Frank's reviewed it, so his terms and conditions are all laid out here, right?
I will send, Frank has not seen that yet.
He's not seen that.
No, I will, since we have approved of using Dan Brown, I will forward that to Frank.
Okay.
But I'll also, will give a copy, I'll actually email all the commissioners a copy of the letter. Forward me, I'll do that like tonight or tomorrow. That way they've seen it, they can look at it over before the meeting.
Joe, what's the letter you're referencing there?
That's his engagement letter.
Yeah,
From the lawyer,
from Brown,
saying he's willing to represent us.
lays out his hourly fee and how he invoices and.
Okay.
But you had mentioned maybe we suggest to the commissioners a block of time for them to approve.
Yeah, just in kind of spitballing over the last couple of months, I put out the idea that we would do 5-hour blocks at a time. I've stated that idea to the commissioners and various city staff, nobody's balked at that in particular. And so I would imagine that we would just say, you'll buy 5 hour chunks at a time. Once you guys go through your first 5 hours, come back to commission, basically tell us how you used them, what benefit it was to you, what you think you would get out of 5 more hours, and we'll just, as we go along, we'll keep approving them as long as it seems like it's a good use of the city funds.
So he will be representing our committee.
He'd be representing, yes, he'd be the commissioner's lawyer, and we would designate you as an authorized proxy. So the attorney-client privilege would then exist between the commission and the lawyer, and then we would extend that umbrella to you guys.
Okay. And then,
Not being a lawyer, I may be
Yeah, you want
slightly
to
inaccurate
define just a little bit more.
I may be not accurate in defining that, but
and then his billing will send to the
yes,
finance department, I guess, or.
however that would work. As I've said before, we've voted to spend money on things, but I haven't actually done the mechanic of moving that money from place to place. Somebody does it, but not me.
Should we try for 10 hours?
I would say
And
5 hours.
then they could say, no.
What's the hourly rate?
$300 an hour.
We'll do 5 hours at a time. That'd be your best bet.
But that should be plenty, it's not, I mean,
So you'll present that idea as the 5 hour block.
Yeah.
it should be.
I would also, in presenting to the commission, because you're really presenting to the city as well, and
Right.
so we'll need to be understanding what that money's being used for, so I would just, along with the presentation, that, we're asking for 5 hours, and we imagine doing this, and this with them, and it's gonna benefit us in this way.
Okay.
And maybe a slight forecast, and, you might be able to do that a little better based on your experience, but I don't know how fast you guys are gonna use those. You just, that's gonna get you a week, or is it gonna get you a month, or months? Maybe some attempt to forecast it.
Some of that will depend on him,
Yeah,
what
absolutely.
he offers to us. We don't know what to ask right now.
Yeah.
So
Just
Frank,
Yeah, off the
go
top of my
ahead.
head, I'm thinking, 5 hours a month, I mean, that doesn't sound too,
5 hours a month ain't much.
it depends, like,
If most is through email,
yeah, which I'm envisioning most of it being, brief phone calls or email.
I'm okay with 5 a month.
And they don't
And
go
then, and if we don't use it all up,
No.
it spills over to the next one.
Yes.
Well, the first 5's gonna go pretty quick.
Yeah,
Yeah, we'll just try, we'll try to ask for 5 hours,
And-
we'll try it and we'll see what,
It's possible too, you guys might get through most of your questions and you might realize, oh wow, we really only needed those first 5 hours in that month. And maybe we don't need to call them back for another couple of months, and then maybe, 3 months from now, you guys ask again, like, hey, something came up, we didn't understand this, we need more assistance, so.
Yeah, just to get him up to speed, bring him up to date on some documents that we have and get him a landscape of what we're working on is gonna take a couple of hours just to develop that.
So you're right.
And then after that, we can start working on questions we have, things we need his help with. So the first 5 hours would be the fastest consumed. The second 5, I think, would be a little bit more methodical, not as time consuming. But I do think we need to come up with a structure for who reaches out and how he reaches out. I mean, I don't think if you have a question for him and I have a question for him and he has a question and she has a question, every time we call them, we're gonna get hit with a quarter of an hour for an explanation to each one of us, right? So I think we need to corral the questions and one person reach out, have that
well,
communication.
I feel like David,
I'm happy to do that, but I agree, I think if you get hold of it, just funnel the questions that you have, funnel them to me and then we'll get them all
you
together.
kind of build that original rapport with him and communication, so let's just, if you're okay with that, I
Yeah,
feel like let's
yeah.
just direct any questions to you.
but it's not official until Frank does something, you said.
Well, it won't be official until
The
commission approves it,
Yeah.
Do you think they would do that Tuesday night?
I don't know,
That's too late.
we're appropriating money, it might require an ordinance to move the money around,
So that'd be a 3 reading rule.
in theory.
meetings.
We also have a very busy schedule in August, just so everybody's aware. I don't know exactly, because we don't have money allocated for you guys or budgeted for you. Now, that's not to say that there's not a budget for the commission's legal fund. There might be money available if we're talking about, $1,500 at a time. There might be some of that in the couch cushions there, I don't know. I would probably also, for the commission, I would recommend to the commission that we put on an extra hour for the first one, and the commission can meet with the lawyer as well and give them kind of what our idea was when we created you guys, and then we transition them off to you guys. That'd be kind of like the first introductory meeting.
So would we be in on that meeting?
I don't know.
I don't like it if we're not,
I don't see why you couldn't be, but.
because he's our choice. They're paying for it, it's our task, it's in the resolution, we can have legal counsel, he's our legal counsel.
I wouldn't have a problem with you guys being there.
You're talking like a private meeting between the.
Probably an executive session, yeah.
Okay.
But that doesn't mean that you guys can't be invited to an executive session with us,
So that'd be like our first meeting then,
probably.
but I don't wanna eat up too much time
Well,
with the
if I'm saying we
commissioners
would,
there.
the commission would get an extra hour for that, would be what I'd imagine.
Oh, I see
kinda-
what you're saying.
Yeah, so
Then they
we're-
would
To
leave.
cover for that.
yeah, and then you guys could, we'd have an hour meeting with them, commission, if you guys are there, and then wrap that up, and then you guys have 5 more hours for whatever, so.
Because we need at least an hour, the 5 of us, I think, with the lawyer, to get started.
Yeah.
So you wanna pull that together for Tuesday?
Now, are you saying that this would be on Tuesday? Is what you're?
No,
No, because we'd have to have,
no,
this one, you guys can present it to us on Tuesday.
Yeah.
And by the next commission meeting, we will have directed city staff to find out what is the budget procedure, what ordinances and resolutions do we need to get on the docket. We would get those on the docket at the earliest possible time, but like I said, August is gonna be a little schedule. There's just a lot of stuff that popped up on that.
so we could be
Like,
2 months away from meeting with him.
actually. I mean, we could probably do an emergency ordinance if it required an ordinance. I don't know that it would require an ordinance though, because the way that I have described the lawyer being hired is that, again, I'm basing this off of a different situation the commission was in where we decided that we needed a different lawyer because the situation was too close to Mr. Patrizio. And so we needed a second opinion, and we were going through the process of hiring him. And I don't know, we never actually did, but I don't know that we were gonna end up needing to make a resolution or anything like that. I think that there might be a bucket of funds available for such legal necessities already, so if you guys present it to us on Tuesday, we can see what it is on the next commission meeting, but there wouldn't be anything to pass on that Tuesday.
Hopefully, we don't have to do the whole ordinance period.
Yeah, because the fund rate would be so small, I would, there would probably be something that is already an existing budget bucket that it can be pulled from. But we'd have to find that out.
So Tuesday, we'll just present. And are you okay with that? Tomorrow I email that out to all the commissioners.
Oh, yeah,
You guys will have a copy of it. I can copy Paul and Frank on the email.
you said that, Paul's already got a copy of it?
Yeah.
No, it's
No,
addressed
This
to
was
Paul.
addressed to
Oh.
They'll already address the Paul.
Yeah. I mean, they've been anticipating that, what their reaction will be, it's up for them, but this won't be a surprise to them, or it shouldn't be.
Yeah. Anything more on that? And then, where are we, it's a weekly question, where are we with the Hamptons? Hampshires.
We're gonna get there, we'll get there.
That was, did you see that movie?
This is latest text.
You see that on there?
I can't read the green, something sounds good.
Yeah, his brother, he and his brother trying to coordinate together is a problem, so you might have to move along, so.
Okay.
But the week of the 25th is what we're targeting.
Okay.
That week sometimes where we said that we might be able to fit him in at a different time schedule.
That's the week we're at North Star,
So we have the symposium.
but I don't suppose that's a problem, just a different place.
I mean, whenever I can get him, I'll get him.
What time is the,
5:30 for North Star.
But that's,
so the symposium's the
Oh, that's
24th
right.
at 6 o'clock.
we wanted to keep that open in case we get stuck.
Well, we could do, maybe it's, yeah, let's just see if it works, I guess, and then we'll cross that bridge.
Okay,
So 24th, that's Wednesday, right? Yeah.
Yes, cause the 25th is no.
This is the Hampshire interview,
Yes,
is that the only one that has not been interviewed yet?
We haven't interviewed anybody yet, unfortunately, Jeff.
you mean,
Okay.
you mean of everybody on our combined list,
I mean,
is that what you're asking?
Paul Obenhofer, did you get a hold of him?
Oh, he turned us down,
We sent our letter, we sent our.
Big time.
Bill Snyder?
turned us down big time.
Brent will talk to us. We
Carrie
submitted,
Fritz and
Carrie
Bowling
Wood.
Green, big time, no,
Eric Wood?
haven't asked.
we submitted questions in writing to Paul, the city manager, and he got answers back to us.
Eileen Moran from Rapka in Dayton?
Haven't asked.
Yeah, I'm not sure yet.
But you've reached out to Rapka and they pretty much were like, we given,
She got a flash drive from Radco.
Yeah, I got the flash drive,
That's
and
what
they
she
were
reached out to you.
pretty cooperative with it. I can ask, there's some other things I can ask for. It does have, when you do bring your laptops if you want it, it does have pictures of the old water plant before ESRG moved out, so you can see their equipment, where that was in the different buildings. So when David and I went there, it was empty.
So other than the public coming forward to be interviewed, no one from the city has been interviewed.
Right.
No one from Rapka has been interviewed, no one from Ohio EPA has been interviewed. Is the panel's position that you want to extend the invites to those entities also?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Well, yeah, and Jeff, without giving up the goods, I've lived here 59 years. I know some of the parties involved just because I went to school with them, played baseball with them. I run into a few of them over the last few weeks at the meat market, the gas station and whatnot. For whatever reason, when our committee was formed, they were excited to explain their situation and talk to us. But they have now come to some accord that they're concerned about speaking to our committee because they're afraid that what they say could be used at some other point in time if a lawsuit were to happen. So they aren't gonna talk to us. I've been told that by folks who we want to interview. They won't talk to us. So I don't know if that's a real fear or where they've come up with that. But it's what I've heard from 3 different people. So, and I can't tell you how we get around that because, there's been,
Well, that's part of why we were hiring a lawyer.
yeah, but unfortunately, it looks like we'd have to have a lawsuit to have them deposed. I mean, otherwise it's their free will. I mean, we got subpoena power, but it means we don't have power. We can subpoena everybody. We
And
can
we
say
might,
no thanks, and we can say, okay,
some may not be so comfortable saying, no thanks. I wouldn't discard it as a tool.
yeah, I mean, we're happy, I'll try anything, but I'm just telling you, I was point blank told, Joey won't come, won't talk to you, because
Even just writing, or like if we submit questions or.
no, and I tell you, one person laid it out, that there's an underlying fear that there could be a class action lawsuit against the city, and anything they say to us will be then brought in, and they would put themselves in a world of hurt if they said something to us, trying to help, trying to be honest. It could be misconstrued or misstated, and now they've got problems. So they won't expose themselves to potential liability, even though they feel like they did nothing wrong. It's just, they are concerned that something could get twisted, so they won't put themselves in harm's way.
Well, I think this is a good time to kind of recognize that we've talked about just about everything on the agenda, which moves us to public comments. And Alicia has a special guest that we'd like to hear from tonight.
So, with that said, because a lot of people have been very timid and maybe worried, I'd like to introduce Nathan.
He's not in a good spot for the TV.
Nathan,
Where
would you like to go
sit?
On there.
On the floor?
sit next to Jim?
Come sit right here, come on. You go right here. Yep, that's good.
Okay.
You're good, dude.
So I'd like to introduce Nathan. Nathan, I just wanna tell you thank you for your bravery and your honesty coming forward. Nathan, reached out to me, he is what I consider a whistleblower. Nathan worked for the city and resigned 3 weeks ago. And it has been eating him up, holding some things in that he would like to share with the community about his time at the water treatment facility.
Go ahead, Nathan.
Yeah, I hired into the city, July of 2016 as a meter reader, and then ended up, they're getting rid of the meter reader program, so they're like, you know, if a hot job opportunity comes up, you might wanna look at an opening, so I ended up going, filling out an opening for the water treatment plant. I got hired onto the water treatment plant as a, water plant mechanic. So I'm not, at the time, I wasn't an operator or a licensed operator. That position didn't require an EPA Class 1 license.
Nathan, real quick, when you say the water treatment plant, are you talking about the old one or the new one at that?
At that time, it was the old one,
Okay, so we're talking about the old one, okay,
and I've worked at the new one since it's been up and running.
okay.
Can I ask that you just speak a little bit louder?
Sure.
Okay, doing good.
All right. And then, you know, as people might, retire or find a new job, or laid off or fired or whatever, it would open up a different spot, you know, first shift, second shift, you know, maintenance and so forth. So that's how I ended up there, was that, a gentleman retired, so that's how I was able to have an opening at the water plant. And then I worked there probably 5 years. You know, like I said, my position didn't require a license. And then someone else had left, Curtis Locker left, thank you. He left the city of Pickwood to go be a superintendent at a different location. So there was a little jockey around with first, second, third, and different operator positions. And at that time, I asked Todd if they would be willing to let me, have training, to have training to get my Class 1 operator license with, you know, with maybe the potential opportunity to become an operator or even like overtime or anything else like that, because you can't be operating in a lab without a license or, you know, well, if you're being trained, you can, but, you know, I was in maintenance, so. So then last year I went, last summer, to classes in Wapakoneta and spent 16 weeks in classes. It's only once a week, but 16-week progress first. And then went and took my Class 1 test and passed on the first try, and I was like, all right. So during my time there, there was different government or people staffing. So the city manager is different, a different person. The utility director is a different person now. The superintendent, assistant superintendent, and now the first shift working supervisor. So they're all new, not new, but they're different people. But we do have a new utility director, a new city manager. So those have changed. And so I have seen the progress, or since day one, the burning process come in and seeing the burns and been told, you know, don't talk to media, you know, don't talk to the public.
Who told you not to talk to the media, talk to the public? Your supervisors, you don't have to give me names, your supervisors or supervisors from
From the top down.
top down? Gotcha.
When you say top down, you mean top down from the water plant or a
City
different
manager.
top?
Yeah,
Okay, city manager.
Like what year are we talking about at this point in time?
pretty much day one,
So like 2016, 2017,
18.
18,
Yeah,
okay,
that's when they started doing the.
okay.
So when it very first started, like, we had moved from the old plant
Mhm.
to the new plant.
Mhm.
And, I think it was a holiday in 2017. And it was Labor Day or Memorial Day, I get them mixed up, but I was a meter reader at the time, and my last day as a meter reader, I was reading meters, stairs collapsed and I broke my foot.
No,
So I was off work for 16 weeks. So they had already moved from the old plant to the new plant when,
In the interim when you were off,
yeah,
okay.
yeah. But we still had lawnmowers, tools, backhoe equipment but we were at the new plant on top of the hill on 66, but we didn't have a garage, so if we needed to work on something, we would drive down the hill to the old plant or pick something up and drive it back up to,
Mhm.
that's just what, we just used the old tool shed or tool garage, and that's where we kept stuff. But when it started in 2018, as long as there was, deliveries or burns or any sort of setup or anything that was going on, we were told we weren't supposed to be on site or on premises, whether it was due to proprietary information or we were just told we weren't supposed to be there. We weren't said, you can't be around it because it's dangerous or you can't be around it because, that might have been their concern, but maybe I missed that memo, but they just didn't want us around the area. But then as things progressed and as time went on, it was, go down there and mow and go pick up your tools or whatever we have to do. They might be burning at the time or cleaning up their burn or whatever they were doing. And there were other occasions where they might get a delivery and the company wasn't on site. So that company would call us and say, hey, is there someone there that can go get on the backhoe, forklift or whatever and unload the shipment that we're receiving, And then we'd oblige, we'd go down there and take stuff off the semi trucks or whatever.
When you say that company would call and ask you to unload, was it the battery companies, was it ESRG, and who were they calling? Were they calling someone's cell phone number, were they calling the city, were they calling the water treatment plant?
They were, I believe it would be ESRG and they would be calling the water treatment plant.
they call the main line, or do they have somebody's cell phone number, a personal connection line or something like that?
They could have called a cell number or they would have called, it'd be both. So at some point in time, they had my company's cell phone number, Nick or Dalen would call me and say, hey, is the gate unlocked or can you lock the gate up or,
So you have a city cell phone?
I did.
You have a city cell phone?
Yes. If not mentioned, I resigned from the city of Piqua on the 14th.
Okay.
So,
And it wasn't the delivery company calling you,
No.
it was ESRG directly calling
well, maybe, I don't know.
Okay.
It could have been both,
Okay,
yeah, so,
Did you ever unload yourself physically? Were you one of the people that
Yes.
drive a forklift and you
Yes.
unloaded some stuff? So what kind of things did you unload?
a lot of times it'd be like a wooden crate, it was contained, but, we would unload 6-8 wooden crates.
That you couldn't see what was inside the wooden crates?
No, not at that time, but then, I would be down there getting them along or whatever, and they're unpacking the crates and they're, some sort of, battery or like a rack system that they would build and then load the batteries in like a rack system,
So
yeah,
So
Yeah.
if you or somebody from the city is unloading, it's because ESRG, whoever, is not there to
Correct.
unload.
Correct.
If they were there, they would do the unloading?
Yes,
And did they have their own forklifts that
Yeah,
they
they would.
brought in?
yeah, they would rent one, like Van Daly Rental or something, or whatever rental company they would use.
So you guys had forklifts that were city-owned that you used?
We had a backhoe,
So you used the backhoe
Yeah.
that's city-owned,
Yes.
some of their stuff?
yes.
Okay. Now, do you remember that as part of your contract, are you supposed to unload for third-party entities?
I was just doing as asked,
So you were instructed by your supervisor
Yes.
to do this?
yes.
As part of your city contract, is there not a sentence in there that says something to the effect of, or other assigned duties?
Yes, so
So that could fall under,
so if I said I'm not gonna do it or whatever else, then it'd be, potential dereliction of duty because it falls under the category of other assigned duties.
right,
You're a member of a union,
Yes,
would the union?
well, I was,
Well, at the time, would the union been okay with what they were asking you to do?
I don't know if they were ever informed, but
But if they knew,
I don't know if they would be concerned or not.
I would argue they would be concerned, but because it says other assigned duties, his manager, somebody would fall into that. There's not much they could do.
Yeah.
I don't know that, cause I, in my research, I talked to the former president of the city of Petwood Union.
Yeah.
He was the union president for 7 years.
Alan,
No, my brother,
I think it might count.
Mike Thompson.
Oh,
He left
oh,
by the time you guys came, so. He said he's been to many complaints and many forums, and that's where they handle their hat.
yeah, on other
Other
duties,
assigned
yeah.
duties. So,
So how many times do you think you would unload or perform work for ASRG on your time?
A few times a year. It wasn't like every shipment I unloaded, it was just, either they might, I don't know, but like ESRG might say, hey, we're gonna be there Wednesday, we want our shipment on Wednesday, but then trucking company XYZ is like, we're here on Tuesday, we're just here, we wanna get rid of or unload our trucks, and then, so they might just be there early, so I don't necessarily think it was like it's just a timing issue, I've been at the water plant, say, hey, deliver a line, between 7 and 3, and they show up at 4:30, and we're all gone, then has to come back to unload, stuff, so the shipping things, you're kinda at their mercy, even though you tell them to be there at a certain time.
so when you unloaded, did the truck driver have his paperwork in order? Did he give it to you? My big question to this whole thing is who signed the bill of ladings?
There's been times where I've put my own time, or I've put Mickey Mouse, or just an X.
And then that gets filed where? Who does that lead into?
Then that would go back to the superintendent or my supervisor at the water treatment plant, and then once Nick or Dalen got there, then Nick and Dalen would get that.
So the end of the trail stops at ESRG or whoever had it shipped in, they got the documents
Yeah.
at the end of the day.
Yeah.
So,
I would imagine that they were paying for the shipment.
no, it makes sense they have it, but if something's coming into the city of Pickwood facility, we should have files, we should have documents on what the hell is there. And we don't have any of that I can understand, and it's only our city.
It's similar to like
frustrating.
what you're saying, it'd be like similar to like an MSDS sheet, if it came into our city, you should be aware of what's in your city, yeah.
you wanna
absolutely.
explain that so everybody understands?
That is a state law.
Yeah, so the MSDS sheet, they changed the name, they dropped an S somewhere, but it's
The last one, in
Yeah.
the sheet, it's material safety data,
so,
tells you what's in a
Yeah.
component, what's volatile, and if somebody's injured, how to treat them, and
yeah,
who to call, and so, I mean, if every chemical you have, truth be told, you buy a gallon of bleach at the store, you should get an MSD for it, but
Yeah.
you don't get it.
So question, should ESRG have had a MSD sheet for the chemicals there?
Well, that's a question, if they're using chemicals, yes, I don't know if a battery, you guys at Crown use lithium batteries, do you send out forklifts, do you guys have a MSD sheet for the battery that you know of that goes out, is
We
that
don't
considered hazardous?
We don't have an MSD sheet, but there is a different sheet, I would have to pull it up to see exactly what it is. But we have to fill that out, and it has an line item in there that says like, does this contain battery, electronics, anything hazardous material?
And basically that's your company did that.
Yeah,
There is a procedure.
Yeah, and because I've been looking into it, we've talked about placards that, because it's hazardous material. Do you remember if they were placard, they had placards on it?
I wouldn't pay too much attention to that, I mean, I know like when we would get permanganate or something like that, I would see that they were placard for hazmat or whatever, and we would unload that and we would fill our containers across the street at our service station, but I didn't really pay attention to their placards. To me, it was just a crate, so I didn't know.
What's a placard?
It's a square thing, it's states, it's got these ODOT informational pieces on it that anybody can look at and say that's got some sort of hazardous chemical on it, it's being transported. Hazardous waste, if you transport it, you would have.
The only problem I found, was, it's a class 9, a lithium battery is a class 9, according to DOT,
Okay.
but there's no placards required.
See, that's what I've talked to a couple people that,
They could ship a whole truck load and then on,
researchers and scientists, I asked them about the placard, and they said, well, a battery contained, not necessarily a harmful chemical. Now, when you're burning it, and that stuff's going off, now you got some problems. But either in a solid form, either coming in or going back out. Big question, is it hazardous at that point, after it's contained and covered and it's not being burned or the liquids aren't oozing out or anything like that? So, question about whether it's placard or not, because it's quote unquote hazardous in the solid state, coming in or going out after it's been.
Which is interesting because anytime you buy like a phone or a laptop or something, like the box you get will have some kind of decal,
Amazon ships them with the battery, contains the battery on the outside of the box.
Yeah, so that's.
but they're on the box and not on, they don't have to be on the side of the truck.
Well, that's just,
That's the
delivery
thing.
on the transport, that's the whole question,
Yeah.
right? So, but,
Did you notice what company, what kind of, did the trucks all come from a certain company?
No, like, no, like, whether it was an owner operator or DHL or, but I mean, whether it's
Just all
UPS,
sorts.
I mean, cause a lot of times, they might get a small package, maybe it's a switch or a sensor or something. You know, UPS would drop it off at the front door or leave a sticker on the front door of the old water plant saying that there was a package that missed its delivery or something. Or it even got to the point that if they weren't there to receive their package at the old water plant, they would bring it to 9801 and then drop it off there, and, you know, the superintendent or a supervisor or whoever happened to be there, if it was after 3 o'clock, maybe the second shift operator would just sign off saying that the package was delivered, and then someone the next day would drop it off to Nick and Dalen or whoever needed to get there. And they were small packages, you know.
but you did see some big crates coming into that facility.
Yes, unloaded crates that were the size of giant Samsung refrigerators or deep freezers, you know, I mean, you know, heavy enough that our backhoe couldn't lift it.
how did you have to open up the crate or like?
No.
You just set the crate on the
Yeah,
pad or?
I would, like if our backhoe wasn't, strong enough to lift theirs, that's when they would have their, I don't know what you call it, forklift, but I know it is called a law loader, a mini law loader. So they would have a law loader out there, and we would use that to unload a truck, and we would just put them on the concrete pad that they had just poured or whatever, and they would get to it either later that day or the next day, or, you know, when they showed up, we would just unload the truck. We didn't uncrate any of their products or, yeah.
So you've unloaded it, were you ever asked to load a truck after they burned? I imagine that they probably had scheduled pretty well,
Yeah, I don't,
because shipment coming in can get moved around and
yeah,
I can see where they're not there, I mean, somebody has to get to it.
Yeah.
But sending it out, that's a little
Yeah,
bit orchestrated.
yeah, I think they might have got a hold of a dumpstering company or whoever they did it, and they would do it themselves and someone pick it up, like Hemlock or Midwest Maintenance or whoever they chose to use, Runkey, I don't know, you know, who they would use, but they probably would get it dumped. A lot of times they get a dumpster, and then they would just make a call when the dumpster was full, you know. Now, if it needed to be shipped back out, I know like towards the end, they had some very large units, like 24-foot shipping container type things, you know, it took a semi truck to bring it here and they had to hire a crane company to come in and unload it. And then once they were done with their testing or whatever they were doing, they would call that flatbed truck company to come back and they would bring their crane back in. So as far as like removing burned or used equipment, I didn't really get too involved in that.
Yeah. You worked first shift mostly, Nathan?
Yeah.
So you were there when they did some burns, you were at the plant on top of the hill when they were down at.
Or mowing, I could have been mowing at the quarry, or I could have been weed eating at Echo Hill, or, you know, I mean, or doing maintenance at a different facility, you know, cause there's off-site, we got Ziegler Road, Hetzler Road, pump stations, we have, you know, sludge facility, a river pump station, we have a quarry has a pump station, so, you know, it just depended, you know, what maintenance required, I would be doing that. So I mean, I didn't always spend all my time at the new plant, you know, I clocked in, clocked out, but, you know, maybe I was changing filters on air handling units at the new plant, you know, that's all our stuff, you know, or doing typical cleaning or small maintenance.
But you witnessed some of the burns
Yeah,
and you saw the smoke coming off?
oh yeah,
And would you describe a couple of plumes? I mean, we've heard some of them were blue, were they black, rolling smoke? I mean, and how close were you and did you ever ingest any of the toxins
Well,
or any smoke or anything?
well, there was probably a couple times where like we were told to go mow and they were burning at the same time, so yeah, I was definitely around, even whether I was downwind, but I'd like to think I'm smart enough not to be downwind from a fire regardless whether what's in it.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's like, you know, I could smell it or the wind's not constant the same direction, I would say, all right, I've had enough, I'll go mow somewhere else or mow when they're done, you know, even though I was assigned to go mow there, but like I said, it falls under the category of doing what you're asked to do. I'd say, hey, look, we gotta do it a different day or I'm not doing it, you know,
Okay.
and they're like, okay, well, you know, we'll just do it a different day, you know.
So you were never exposed to it to a point where you went home and felt sick or felt like, you
I-
know, even that later that day you felt?
I don't think so.
No.
But yeah, I've seen the clouds of smoke, whether they start off black, white, turn brown or yellow or, you know, I mean, cause you could, like, I'm sure and many of the other citizens in the city, you know, they see it going on, whether it's between, it's daylight hours, I might be off the clock, but you're curious to see what's going
Sure.
on and yeah, you see funny colors, you know, the fire, the flames might not be red and blue, I mean, that may be, you know, weird color and the smoke might turn yellow or greenish or brownish or whatever and dissipate, you can see it, you know, like I say, if I mow at the quarry, I'm trying to explain where the quarry is at in relationship to the water plant.
Mhm.
So I gotta get my bearings straight, but I could be at the quarry and be like, I can smell that at the quarry, you know, I don't even wanna be out there, you know, and that's maybe not really an actual mile away, or, but the way the crow flies, it might be a mile away or less than a mile away.
Can I ask a question?
Go for it.
When you were observing some of these fires, did you ever hear or see, well, I guess you would hear, did you ever hear any explosions or anything, any sounds that caught you off guard? Or was it mostly just seeing the fumes?
Well, I'd see fires, but I don't know if I was there too often to hear.
Can you share with them what you shared about the box with the lid?
The comics.
Oh, I wasn't there to witness it, only the aftermath, but one of their like small semi-truck shipping containers that was full of the batteries, they did have that one, I think when they started that one, I don't know like if they have a window of like 8 hours or 10 hours, but I know that like from the time they started, it was almost 24 or plus hours that from the time it caught fire to the time it actually went out, so it was definitely smoldering or smoking for 24 hours, but that particular burn, the, like I say, semi-trailer doors, cause that's what it looks like, just back of the doors, well, it blew it ripped one of the doors off, and I don't know if it threw it 40 feet, 50 feet, I don't know how far it threw it. And it kinda, I guess, ripped the top open like a sardine can, you know,
You saw that,
I only saw the aftermath, I didn't see it happen, I just know, yeah,
but you saw a
Yeah.
shipping container
that's
blown up like
yeah,
a
yeah.
pop can or something.
Yeah.
And
I think I have a picture of that.
I have a video.
Did you ever see, like, firefighters
You ain't gonna
Site.
outdo me.
I've seen them there, but I don't know if they were there at the same time as the fire, cause at the old water treatment plant, I've seen SWAT out there before, they did like indoor training. I know that fire had been out there and they did confined space training and search and rescue type stuff. But usually when those events occur, we weren't supposed to be there, so I don't know, I can't say that I ever saw a firefighter fight their flames from what they were doing. From my understanding, what they were doing is just research on what happens if these batteries become overloaded and if something were to happen. I know that they were testing them up to failure on purpose to know, how do we combat one of these things, how do we put it out, do we contain it, and so forth. But
So the times where you did see a burn take place,
Take care.
are you saying that you did not see a firefighter nearby or whatever?
I don't know, because I wanna say, I don't know if it was them themselves, I don't know how, ESRG wasn't the only company there, right?
Right.
So I don't know how they did that, if they invited crews in, but I was, the garage where I would get my tools, there was always firefighter equipment there, there was always the pants and the hats and the respirator stuff, so I don't know if they did it, or if Piqua did it, or if, but there's been times that there's multiple fire companies there, whether it's Troy or, there was other cities that came, so I don't know if it was for that, or if it was all for confined space training, search and rescue training type stuff, so.
And you're acknowledging that there were you said other companies, and then you mentioned other fire departments, but you mean other companies also doing testing other than ESRG?
Yeah, so I don't know, if ESRG, there might be a day, say they scheduled a burn on Monday, well, that Thursday or Friday before, there might be a company there and they're setting up sensors, wires, cameras, computer equipment, so I don't necessarily know that it was different companies, but
You had mentioned, we talked about
Yeah.
ESA.
yeah, so they, I don't know how they worked in tandem together or if they were another research company, I couldn't answer that.
Sure.
Yeah.
So you mentioned a couple names when we were talking about people will call and ask you to unload, you said Nick and
Dalen.
so Nick, you got a last name?
From my understanding, he's the owner,
Okay.
or the
We think we know the last name, but I just wanted to get from you. And then, so did you ever have to go there an hour or two after a burn or the day after a burn? Did you ever witness the post-mortem of a burn? And if it was cleaned up well, if you felt like if there was slurry on the pads or anything concern you about the cleanup after one of these events?
well, hot
that you
enough
ever
that the
saw?
concrete was pitted, so whatever it was, it pitted the concrete.
It got hot.
Yeah, I'd seen pieces of aluminum, I would say, pieces of aluminum about the size of a 55-gallon drum lid that were, you can tell it was liquefied and it hardened again, and just a massive chunk of aluminum, whether it weighed, I don't know how much it weighed, 20, 30 pounds, but
It was melted and
hardened. Yeah, so at one point it melted to the point that it was flowing and then hardened back up and disposed of as a single piece.
Do you know for a fact that it was aluminum?
No, I don't. It just was just silver, so yeah, I don't know that it was aluminum.
Some sort of metal.
Yeah, it was metal, yeah.
Did you notice the grass around there is dying off, anything about the foliage, that, like, this is unique, this is weird? Why is this brown, why is it dead, this tree's not surviving or anything? Anything stick out?
If it was withered, I just took it to heat, that it was just hot, not that it was from smoke or a byproduct or whatever, you know, I mean, at that point, you know, I think since all this has come out, it's been an eye-opening experience to understand the magnitude of chemicals or toxins that are created or released from that nature of a burn. You know, I mean, I probably know better than to burn plastics, but I mean, and obviously don't be downwind from a fire, you know, so, but no, as long as there was a active testing going on, we generally weren't there, and if we were, it was like, get the mower and get out, it wasn't, you know, don't.
It really didn't matter because you could still smell it.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, well, I mean, you came here today, so I appreciate that, you know, it's concerned you, but at some point, did you go to your supervisors and talk about, is this a problem or you're concerned, did you reach out to the EPA or anybody about anything to
No,
see if?
as far as what was going on at the burn facility, you know, I thought, you know, it's all in contract, everything's on the up and up, there's nothing to be concerned about, you know, I didn't feel that, I was in any sort of danger or harm's way, as long as there was no fire going on, I was safe to be there.
So you didn't reach out to
No.
anyone? Fair enough.
When you were,
Let me re-ask that.
when you were an employee there, could you have talked to us about this?
No.
Could you have talked to anybody about this?
No.
How did you know not to talk?
There was either a briefing or, you know, hey, don't talk to reporters because, you know, we don't want something construed, you know, you probably don't know all the facts.
Who was saying that?
Supervisors, you know, or it might even been in emails of some sort that, you know, they didn't want us to state something that wasn't factual or that we didn't have understanding of, you know, so, so yeah, as long as I was an employee for the city of Piqua or at the water treatment plant from 2018, it was, from that point on, it was, you know, don't talk to media, don't talk to public, don't, you know, whether that was a concern of stirring up a panic, whether that was giving up proprietary information, whether, you know, it was just, as what I was told is that I don't know the facts, I don't know the details, and, you know, and they don't wanna deal with rumors, so.
Can you tell me, did you file a complaint to the EPA for reasons concerning the water?
Yes.
When was that?
That would have been around March or April of this year. And that was separate from the burning at the old water treatment plant.
So the EPA, reaching out to the EPA is not associated with the burning, it's associated to something that you witnessed or concerned about with the treatment facility?
Yes.
Is there something out there that you feel is compromised in some area that we?
I don't know that there's anything as far as the way the water is treated would be compromised. What I was concerned with was the dereliction of duty of a water operator.
Okay. So water operator, you said you started out as a mechanic, and I know there's quite a bit of training and schooling and education to move yourselves into an operator, water operators too.
Yeah.
So did you leave as an operator?
No, I have my class 1 operator's license,
Okay.
but I was never a shifted operator.
Promoted.
Yeah, promoted or, yeah. But that was part of my concern was during those classes, understanding the importance of a water treatment facility and it's like being a cop or a firefighter. You're not just going to work, you're providing a service, but you're there to serve and protect your community. And, and that's what's concerned me now, is that, whether it's from the burning or whether someone, well, we're gonna say dereliction of duty, and EPA, wasn't called, or it was, in my opinion, a slap on the wrist, you know, and,
Can you, with a
Wait,
clear
excuse
con,
me.
just one second, could
Wait, wait a minute, this was a
Let
committee
Jim-
meeting
let
for
Jim-
us. And I don't agree with outside asking questions for
it's
things
public
that we-
comment time.
It's his time. He has been here as a witness
Just
to
ask
us.
your question, Jim, just get to the question.
Go ahead.
Oh, I thought you had a question.
I did. Do you feel they falsified information?
yes.
Okay.
So I feel we're kind of getting out of our lane as
Yes.
a fire burning committee, with what you're
Yeah.
bringing
Yeah.
forward. And I appreciate you being a whistleblower, but this has got to be laid at somebody else's feet. Where you're going,
Yeah.
that's nothing we can do and help
Yeah.
with.
Well,
Last thing I think that may be,
So, just from the burning aspect, and the location of the burning aspect, and the significance of where it's at. Now, I'm not talking about the canal, Swift Run, or anything else, is that the old water treatment plant does not have a sewer. Any runoff from day one till now, if that ground is contaminated, is going to the river. That's not speculation.
Sure.
And if you go to that dog park right now, you'll see two blue valves sticking out of a wide driveway. That's the 24-inch line that runs from the old water plant to the river. That has two gates in it. They don't close 100%. And I say this, I'm gonna catch heat. And so I did an experiment. And we can dye the water on purpose. You know, there's dye you can put in the water. I went to one of the drains behind the old water plant and put dye in it and saw it go all the way to the river and turn the river green. Well, that box that sits there in the dog park is a splitter box.
Okay.
The other side of that splitter box was put in when the old plant was working, where the old sludge would go to that lagoon that you see right there. We call that the sludge pit. Any runoff that went through there, those gates don't close 100%, so I can't sit here for a fact and tell you that it went back to the head of the plant, but I can tell you there was a possibility that anything that ran off that property went to that splitter box and had the potential to go to the quarry, and from the quarry, which is a water source, back to the head of the plant and through our distribution system.
Yeah, I'm familiar with the quarry. I moved there. I worked at the water plant during college days, so I know exactly what you're talking about. So it's not a sewer system, but it's more like a storm
Yes.
water system. It just does everything, but it just
So
goes
prior
straight through.
to, whenever that got put in, I don't know the date, but that sludge facility was put there because prior to EPA regulations, the line would go directly to the river. Well, then at some point, that sludge building was put there to collect the sludge and send it to the quarry so it could be collected and disposed of properly. Well, that splitter box, like I said, that line that goes from that splitter box to the sludge pit there is now bypassed since the new water plant has been put in. But any runoff that still comes from that old water plant still runs through that 24-inch drain through that splitter box and has the potential to go into the head of the plant.
You say they have a plant, that means,
The raw water, whether it's Swift Run, the quarry, or the river, it goes to the head of the plant, that it goes in,
into your plant for treatment.
yes.
Okay, gotcha. So it wasn't going out into the river and just flowing on out.
No, it did that for sure as well.
So it did that, but also some of it got pulled into our plant.
It could have,
Possibly into our
yeah.
drinking water, essentially.
Can your new water plant, or any water plant, treat the water for like toxic chemicals?
No,
So if we went out there tomorrow and dyed that water, it was your test,
yes.
would people be able to at the head of the plant to be able to detect something in there, or you not?
No, it'd probably dissipate, but that's the thing, so, you know, at the water treatment plant, we use chemicals, you know, permanganate as an oxidizer to get rid of metals, but, you know, being in the lab, we're not testing for the things or the toxins there. You know, we're treating algae and pesticides and, you know, organics in the water, you know. So if there's the potential for anything that runs off from that old water treatment plant to this day, right now, if that ground is contaminated, which the test results came back positive, anytime it rains, there's the potential that it's gonna go through that 24-inch concrete line right next to the sludge pit and back to the quarry. And we draw water from the quarry, which means that it would go through the water plant and through the distribution system.
And the toxins would be undetected.
Yes, and you can't boil them out, you can't distill them out. You'd have to reverse osmosis filtration in order to show that your tap water is clean.
So Nathan, are you the first one that probably has done this kind of testing that you're aware of, or others in the city? Should somebody else be aware of this that you think, a supervisor, someone?
Well, there's blueprints, and so it's not a secret,
Did you have someone with you that you don't wanna name?
yes.
You mean like when you were doing the test?
The experiment.
Good, I'm with you. So when we see some of these tests, or whoever's with you, would they have some documentation, some videotape, anything that might come out that we'd ever see, or? Okay.
It was just, understand, like, that water plant doesn't have gutters, but it does have rainwater collection. And it travels from the 3rd floor, which you guys only see 2, there's a sub-basement. And, it runs to that 24-inch, rain collection drain. But like I said, there's not a sewer at the old water plant. There's a septic, so there's, you know, there was a shower and toilets and stuff, so there's a septic there. But there's not a sanitation line for, that's just an all runoff, right, so.
Now, would you be open to talk to them more in another
Yeah.
time? Okay.
Yeah, we've done some breakout sessions where there's 2 of us in a room downstairs and we talk intimate and private. It doesn't go anywhere, it's not recording, so we might wanna sit down and do that with you if you're open to do that. So, appreciate you coming in tonight, telling us what you have to say. I appreciate your, you can tell this is hard for you. It's all the emotion come up and, you know, thank you for sharing. It's not easy to do, so.
I'd like to ask the panel, can I ask Nathan a question? Nathan, you're at the new water plant until you left employment at Piqua. Are you familiar with where the 22 acres of the lot that the new water plant is on, where the surface water drains to?
The watershed,
Just 22 acres, when it rains on that new plant, everything, where does that water run to?
it would run, south across Hardin Road to the ditch or, to Swift Run, and then to the spillway, and then to the river.
So if there was any kind of a spill or anything at the new water plant out on the 22 acres, the parking lot, the driveway or anything, or loading or offloading anything, and then it rained, then there's possibility that whatever was spilled could get into Swift Run. Because
Yes.
I know there's a
Yes.
24, 30-inch concrete pipe under State Route 66
It ties like the
that
wooded area.
nobody in the construction company that built the water plant knew was there until I pointed it out to them.
On the corner of Hardin and 66, yeah.
So, once again, that water, I believe if it goes under Hardin Road, it's a very small drain, and I think it visibly can't be seen. You might see a grate on the north side of Hardin Road that sends it down into the Johnson Farm Field. But the main piping goes into Swift Run.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Now, as far as like the parking lot, it does have drains. From my understanding, everything there at the new water treatment plant is collected and goes to a septic.
You have a large open pond that collects stormwater
At the new plant,
at the new plant. And when it fills up, it
Oh,
routes and
that's,
goes down towards Hardin Alternate and then comes down through the old Piqua Hydraulic Canal on the south side of the lot and goes
Yes.
westerly underneath State
Yes.
Route 66 into Swift Run Lake.
Yeah. That's called a backwash basin, so that is, like they would flush a filter or clean a filter, and then that water is, just goes to the backwash basin is what we call it. And I don't know how deep they are, they're probably 25 foot deep, there's two of them. And if they were to, overflow, it's designed that the overflow would go off, it would just run off the back of the property. And the same thing with the clear well, you know, if the clear well were to, which you can see the clear well at the new plant, you couldn't see the clear well at the old plant. But the new plant's clear well is a 2 million gallon clear well. And if it were to overflow, it's designed the same way, that it would just go out the back of the clear well into the hardened ditch
Yeah, I
to
mean,
Swift Run.
the 22 acre lot the new plant sits on
Yeah,
drains to the south to Hardin Road.
yes,
Once it hits the old Piqua Hydraulic Canal basin, before it hits Hardin Road, it goes under a 24, 30-inch concrete pipe under 66 into Swift Run.
yes.
Thanks.
Do you have concerns about the quality of water in the Great Miami River?
North of Piqua?
Well-
The answer to that question, I know.
I guess in relationship to the
I do
water
understand,
plant.
I do understand what you're saying, and that does, there's incidents of high schoolers here that have been sick with the potential of being exposed to these fires. And if there are heavy metals in that, anything that runs off that place is going to the river. So that's from here to the Gulf of Mexico. And the city of Piqua draws from the river. How many other water treatment plants from here to Gulf of Mexico draw from a water source or watershed that came from Piqua? And it is very concerning.
Can you explain, for transparency, David and I did meet with Nate the other night, and we kept rather quiet about it because we didn't know how this was gonna be evolving. But you were explaining how Piqua is unique because our water is primarily surface water,
It's
where
a
most other towns along the river are well water.
Yeah, so Troy is a well water treatment plant, Sydney's a well water treatment plant. They might have the ability to get surface water, but Piqua doesn't have a well that can provide the roughly 3 million gallons of water a day usage for the public. So we use surface water, which has been that way for, I mean, next year will be 100 years from the time that the old plant was built till now, it was 100 years ago. So, and then Piqua is a valley, and so the watershed goes, you know, almost all the way from State Route 66 all the way to State Route 48 to 185 and all the way back down 36. So, you know, any farm field, golf course, house, you know, anything that's on a public street, whether it's oil or gas, brake dust, whatever, is going into the street drains, which is gonna go right back down into Francis Pond, Swift Run, Echo Lake. So you have concerns with, you know, people's septic systems, whether their septic systems are cracked or anything, that their stuff would leach into, you know, streams, creeks, whatever, but eventually it's gonna go to Swift Run. But that's why we treat for algae at Swift Run, because the septic material becomes a nitrate which feeds the algae. And so we treat Swift Run and Echo Lake for algae, so that way that's less that the water treatment plant would have to treat for.
We off to the next one, public comment, or where we at on the agenda?
I think, yeah, anybody else has any comments?
I just wanna say thank you.
Forward.
Yeah, we appreciate it, thank you so much.
Took a lot of courage.
Thank you.
We hope that you can have some peace tonight, sleep in, you cleared your conscience.
Yeah. So, and I think the biggest part was that, my son's a senior. He just went to school with, students that had brain tumors. And, what have I been exposed to just mowing grass or being on that property or taking home?
You can't blame yourself for that, okay? God is more powerful.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So the next meeting is,
Next,
Well, Tuesday, the update, and then next Thursday.
you two are doing an update.
It'll take long, but you're gonna put together the wording and all.
that's,
So is that all we're gonna talk about?
I think that's the primary
Okay,
reason.
that's fine with me.
So,
So if there's nothing else,
nothing else,
we make
Meeting
it.
to adjourn,
I second your motion,
meeting to adjourn.
I second the motion to adjourn.
All in favor?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate you coming. Thank you. Appreciate
My wife she's yeah,
You want it?
yes, so,
I told her I work.
Asher Long wanted that from last year.
Yeah. Then I worry. I mean, that ain't I mean.
Yeah, it's gotten so big, yes.
David, you got the meetings all right, the Tuesday meeting?
Yeah, right.
But they come and they want.
Yeah, so, and it's a fun race too, so you
That's the thing. You just do it right.
I'm melting like that piece of metal off there. Waiting to go soar. That's what it is. Or you guys just gave us monkeys.
Well, the first thing is to have us further investigate. I mean, it's something, you explain to us sunshine law. You might have a we can do it. Yes.
I don't know if this is going to turn or.
I got my combination, we're going, I guess that's half on.
No.
I don't know about that.